Ladies and gentlemen, due to this drug plague, fire departments around the country are responding to more ODs than fires. Let me go ahead and roll this video. This is an article that just came out on CNN, October 20th, 2017.
These days, the Manchester Fire Department responds to more overdoses than fires. Just walking down the street, you're liable to see an overdose. This one right in front of a children's karate studio in Manchester. Fire department soon arrives to administer Narcan, a drug that brings a seemingly dead man back to life.
Out. It wasn't like you were out. They hit you with a lot of Narcan, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And the time has come. Okay? You came in twice. You gotta get yourself some help.
Saving this life is the easier part of the problem. Getting the man to save his own life, that's the real challenge. Chris Hickey is the Manchester Fire Department's head medic.
So you got a total of 9 milligrams before he woke up. Well, the most we can give is 10. So yeah, 9's a lot. He'll live. Might have some, brain issues because of the lack of oxygen for how long that he went, but he'll live.
It's amazing. They talk to these junkies. They have full understanding. They're telling them to get help. I even read articles where the police stop by their house and visit them to see how they're doing. I don't remember them doing that during the crack epidemic. In fact, I can't even remember the last time I watched a video where a cop even gave a shit about a black person. Okay. Trump said on Monday that he would officially declare America's opioid plague a national emergency next week, which would provide an influx of funding and policy initiatives across the country. Few states know the plague as viscerally as New Hampshire, which Trump previously said he won because it was a drug-infested den. It's a terrible combination of factors, including the type of drugs that permeate the state, geographically and limited addiction resources, said Lisa Marsh, a professor at Dartmouth Geisel School of Medicine. My hope is that we can think of more coordinated and multifaceted approach where we can reduce barriers to treat instead of siloed responses that we're seeing. New Hampshire ranks second in overdose deaths across the country, behind West Virginia. But looking only at synthetic opioids like fentanyl, New Hampshire has twice West Virginia's overdose rate. Wow. And New Hampshire is a very Caucasoid state, very much. The prevalence of fentanyl versus other opioids is one factor that makes New Hampshire's crisis different from some other states, said Marsh. She led a study that is trying to get to the bottom of what's behind the state's plague. Because fentanyl is more potent, the risk of overdose is much higher, she said. The high is shorter than other opioids, so users tend to inject it more often, putting themselves at greater risk of life-threatening infections too. Well, see, that I didn't know. I didn't know they had to inject the fentanyl more often to get their high. The high was shorter. Unlike heroin, illicit fentanyl and its ingredients are largely manufactured in labs overseas, particularly China. China, that country behind the scenes killing everybody. It could be up to 100 times more potent than morphine, and the fentanyl molecule can be tinkered with to create even more powerful drugs In subvent regulations, we have seen these highly potent drugs in a context that has very little resources, Marsh says. And you can see on this chart from 2000 all the way to 2014 how the overdose deaths just keep rising from synthetic fentanyl or synthetic opioids, same thing really, in everyday battle. I want my kids back, said Caitlin, a 31-year-old mother who's living under a bridge near New Hampshire, Massachusetts border, who prefers not to use her own last name because she's a junkie. So she's a junkie living under a bridge. I'm going to actually skip over this part. When CNN spoke with, let me go down a little further. Okay. Marsh said the New Hampshire residents are suffering while too little is spent on addiction treatment and prevention. The state also lags behind on needle exchange programs and low prescribing rates of an addiction treatment called buprenorphine. Okay. Unlike long-term residential treatment, short-term detoxification doesn't necessarily confront the social and behavioral issues surrounding addiction. And then you leave and you're right back on the streets, Caitlin said. It's still an everyday battle. Okay, just looking at all those couches and tents and stuff in there, I guess that's where a lot of addicts are staying. So this is just more proof that they are nowhere near being close to dealing with this plague at all. It really is. I mean, they don't know what to do. They're just getting up every day and going through the motions, but they really, truly do not know what to do. And that's what I'm gathering every time I read these stories. And they have poured tons of money that they never put into the crack epidemic at all. They haven't done any of this stuff, nowhere near it. And, and now that I see how Narcan work, do you know how many crack addicts could have been saved using Narcan? But it's so convenient how they run around and use it now when the addicts are all white. Just saying. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but I will leave a link to this article in the description box, and you can come out at your own leisure and read through it. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can donate to my channel, ladies and gentlemen, please do. Peace, family.